Hey folks, today is Friday, April 27th, 2018. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino. Yes, I finally got a haircut, and no, I'm not quite in my normal HQ here. I'm actually traveling. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we gotta talk about the video game stuff that goes on every single week. And the first thing I wanna bring up is actually some GPU talk about the prices of GPU. I think some of you guys might actually be excited by this story. According to a report by DigiTimes, shipments of GPUs are dropping 40% by the end of April month on month. This is from Gigabyte, MSI, TUL, and a lot of speculation as to why is essentially a slowdown of the cryptocurrency craze. And genuinely, a lot of distributors like stores and stuff and even crypto miners have actually cut their orders of GPU. Now, this could be for a variety of reasons, things slowing down, everybody buying what they need, coupled with the fact that people are also waiting for the new Bitmain ASICs. So the big question is, will GPU prices finally drop? Because, I've talked to a lot of you guys out there who have been wanting to build PCs, but can't because right now, the main ingredient, the graphics cards, are too expensive. Well, DigiTimes is actually expecting and essentially estimating that prices will go down. Suppliers will be forced to cut and make sales to get the rest of those things out the door before new ones roll in inevitably. Now, things have been slowly easing up, but not as fast as people want, so maybe this is proof that things will actually get better, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not an expert on cryptocurrency or even the GPU market, so I do want to know what you guys think. I linked a DigiTimes report down in the description, as well as everything else I talk about. I want to hear your thoughts. But in some inside baseball news, it looks like Nintendo is getting a new president by the end of June. Tatsumi Kimishima is stepping down, and for those of you that don't know, he stepped in very quickly to replace Satoru Iwata back upon his untimely death, and then he saw the release of the Switch and stuff like that. Well, now he's stepping down and electing Shuntaro Furukawa, which is interesting because he's 46 years old. That's one of Nintendo's youngest presidents. They don't get presidents very often, and this dude is younger, and apparently that's actually the intention. Furukawa says he plans to develop Nintendo to its maximum capacity. He also said, interestingly enough, in a quote, "I will balance Nintendo's traditions, originality, and flexibility." One of the more interesting things, I think, is that he actually speaks fluent English, so us in North America or Europe might actually be seeing more of him on screen, maybe even at Nintendo Directs and stuff. And if he can become the new face, the new personality of Nintendo Japan, I'm into that. That's cool. I think it's huge that Nintendo is choosing younger blood for this, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And in some other news, as of today, we finally have a better look at Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Previously, we just had that teaser. Now we got a bit more to go on. And myself, why I'm in a hotel room is because I'm actually in Montreal to check out the game. I was able to play it for an hour. And just real quick, what I can attest to is that it is very much more Tomb Raider. If you're expecting something completely new, it has the same gameplay formula, although this time it seems more story focused. It's also way more confident and violent. It feels way more like you're actually the old Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Even some of her costumes designs echo that. And there's a lot of emphasis on like jungle stealth missions and covering yourself in mud like Rambo. I can go a little more detail on my channel, youtube.com/Jake Baldino. I'll probably do that soon, so if you have any questions, hit me up. I liked what I saw. It's very early, but as a fan of the series, I'm looking forward to it. But in other news, speaking of things I'm a fan of, I hate this. Sony Santa Monica posted an official image of a clean-shaven Kratos because people were curious for some reason, and this is horrible. I don't ever want to look at this again. No thanks. No way. But in some other news, after I finally thought we would stop talking about the whole loot box controversy, it's coming up again, but for good reason. Much to the rejoice of a lot of gamers out there, Belgium has actually ruled some loot boxes and microtransactions as gambling. Some of the games in question mention FIFA 18, Dota 2, PUBG, Rocket League, Overwatch, FIFA 18, and CSGO. Interestingly enough, though, the report actually mentions that Battlefront 2 does not count because it removed all its microtransactions just in the nick of time. The way they look at calling these things gambling, they had a certain set of rules in place. Shout out to Nopio and Resetera breaking this down for us. Number one, it needs to be a game. Number two, the player must put something at stake. And number three, the result is either loss or profit for the player, and chance needs to be involved. The board is concerned mainly about children being affected by this, and they are putting laws in place that both a fine of euros and possible jail time will be involved for violators. And the question is, every country is completely different. So if you're from the United States or maybe you're from another European country, what do you think? Do you think we're gonna see legislation like this? Do you think this goes far enough? How much regulation do you want in your video games? There's a lot of questions that can go into this, so I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. But on some interesting news that honestly I don't think there's enough details on yet. I want to know more. It looks like Valve has actually bought Campo Santo,
the very developers behind Firewatch.
They are working on a new game, and now that new game is going to be worked on in Bellevue, Washington, and put out by Valve. Valve is, yes, once again, really putting out games, not only their own, but now they're buying up studios and putting things out. Interestingly enough, Campo Santo is only a 12-person team, and regardless of how you feel about them from a political stance and what's been going on, I think the fact that Valve bought a game studio, any game studio, is huge. I would really like to know for how much. I want to see how much of that Steam cash Valve is flexing, you know? Not only that, it raises a very interesting question, like, is Campo Santo's next game going to get special treatment on Steam, on the platform? And is that not fair, or is that Steam and Valve just taking advantage of what they have? I'm curious to see what people out there think, because it raises some interesting questions. But speaking of interesting questions, it looks like there is now officially one of the first college varsity Fortnite, specifically esports teams. Now, colleges in the past have been trying to get into esports and offering competitive esports teams, but Ashland University in Cleveland, Ohio is the first to actually have a varsity Fortnite team. I shit you not, that is a thing, a varsity Fortnite team. They've already have teams for League of Legends and CSGO and stuff, but the jump into Fortnite is big because they're one of the first. Students are also able to compete and earn scholarships of up to $4,000, and that's cool. I just wonder where this is all leading to. Esports gets bigger and bigger every year as an industry. I'm not someone who's super into it, but I just look at colleges as businesses, and they're following the money, I guess. I think this year esports is actually projected to hit $1 billion, so people are trying to go after that, including universities. If you are a kid who is lucky enough to be on the varsity Fortnite team and maybe even get a ride to college for how good you are at Fortnite, bravo, man. That's cool. You did it. But speaking of Fortnite, an update on that court case between Epic and some young cheaters. We've talked about this in the past.
If you haven't been following, Epic has been going after younger cheaters and modders of Fortnite.
Under the guise of a copyright infringement lawsuit, and most recently, the mother of one of the child, the defendant, wrote a letter to the court suggesting that Epic has no basis to do this, and they're just trying to make an example out of her child, and it's unfair. The mother also argued that there's no proof that he modified Epic's game code, the fact that Epic essentially just kind of put him on blast and released his name publicly, and that basically they have no proof. Now, after that letter, it seemed like the case was up in the air for a second, but it looks like Epic and the court is moving forward after Epic filed a motion saying, hey, no, we still want to pursue this. Just because you say this doesn't mean we're going to stop. Doesn't give you any basis or grounds, and we're going to keep going. And that is crazy, man. Now, Epic hasn't said whether or not it's actually seeking any financial damages. I still just think they're trying to make an example out of this, but it looks like they're taking it all the way. But the filing does cite that they are looking at stuff that is causing actual damage to Epic, including decreased and lost profits. Really, with this, I don't know what to think anymore, but I think as Fortnite gets bigger and bigger, I still think it's important to pay attention to this, because when this did start, Fortnite wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. So I wonder if eventually they might back off because of the public backlash, or maybe the opposite. Who knows? But I do also want to mention that we are taking glitch submissions for God of War. If you've come across any God of War glitches, there's going to be a link in the description below. I know I announced it last week, but I think I forgot to provide the link to you guys. So if you did come across any God of War glitches, send it to us. Maybe you'll get featured in a video and we'll react to it. Who knows? But now we got to do that console giveaway we do every week. Just because I'm in a hotel doesn't mean I'm stopping, dude. There's a link in the description below. You click it once, you sign up, you enter once, and you're entered for good. And then every single week, I choose one person randomly to win a free console of their choice. And this week's winner is going to be this person right here. Congratulations. Be sure to keep an eye on your inbox, your spam box, stuff like that, because Tom is going to be getting in touch with you to figure out how he can send you your stuff. But now we got to talk about all that video game jazz this week. I want to know what you're feeling on the new Tomb Raider. Does it look different enough for you? Are you excited to see the end of this Origin trilogy type thing? Also, GPUs. Do you have your eye on a GPU? Have you gotten a decent deal? I had a friend of mine actually get one for a pretty reasonable price. But are you still seeing prices be horrible in places? And also, if you had the chance to play on an esports team for college, would you take it? Would you go for it? Would you give it the bet? Would you give it the shot? Would you give it the best shot you can to be the best like no one ever was? And what do you think the ramifications of Valve buying up studios, what do you think the future is going to be like for Valve PC game distributions, all that stuff. Let's talk down in the comments. I'll be down there talking to you guys as much as possible. But if you got anything else for me, you know where to find me. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino. But as always, thank you guys so much for coming around, listening to us every Friday, talk about news. You know, it's just me alone in a room this week. The guys are off this Friday. They're relaxing for once. Clicking the like button, though, does really help us out, and we appreciate it. And if you're new, you should subscribe because we put out stuff like this all the time. But as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Pizza's on me.